How did Shakespeare die? Shakespeare, Michael Drayton, Ben Jonson had a merry meeting, and it seems drank too hard, for Shakespeare died of a fever there contracted. These words are from the diary of John Ward, Vicar of Stratford, 1648-79, and they form the basis of my poem, Shakespeare's Last Drink. The story goes that Shakespeare, Michael Drayton, Ben Jonson, probably the most famous poets, writers, dramatists of their time, did indeed have a merry meeting. And I have placed that meeting, true to local legend, in the Bell Inn in Welford upon Avon, just a few miles from Stratford, walkable along that river's bank. After that very merry meeting, and indeed late into the night, in my poem, Shakespeare walks home alone, maybe a bit befuddled. As he walks, he gathers around him his life like a shawl, at first for comfort, the comfort of remembrance. Then his thoughts approach distress. But let's begin at the beginning. Let's set the scene. It was one of those misty April nights, as if the whole sky were waiting. The hedgerow was heavy with bullace and coltsfoot. Plague hung on every tree's branch and breath. In the Bell at Welford, Drayton sipped a glass of Rhenish wine. Jonson was already at the pints. They talked of posterity, the price of folios, anticipated Shakespeare. He'll be here in a minute. But when he came, a change was marked. That day, in a strange silence, he had visited the grave of his son, had recalled the lines of Constance, "I have heard you say that we shall see and know our friends in heaven. If that be true, I shall see my boy again." Returning home after a little shopping, he tidied up his part of the house and went out for the last time. That night his friends were veritable halls of mirth. The landlord took some good London teasing, and Shakespeare, drinking little at first, gradually imbibed the spirit of the company. His tankard was handed down to him. It had been washed in unscalded water. In merriment, the chimes at midnight came. On his way home, he felt ill, a touch of dysentery. But for a moment the sky cleared, and there was the moon. He remembered Sydney. With how sad steps, O moon, thou climb'st the skies, how silently, and with how wan a face. He smiled, and his thoughts replied, "How sweet the moonlight sleeps upon this bank. Here shall we sit, and let the sound of music creep in our ears." But sadly, not with Sydney, he affirmed. He thought of Drayton's lines in Requiem, "The widow world of all her joys deprived," and other of his verses. He thought of Taylor, the water poet, Ben's latest protege, and then involuntarily chanting faint hymns to the cold, fruitless moon. The skies had closed over again. trying to get home, and there were still some miles to go, he thought of his mistress, his withered salad days, and of his will, twice written, once in verse and once in Stratford, to a wife, and with respect, the second best bed, and to the world a tempest, an end to revels. Within his mind he conjured out of air and into thinner air his actors, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, and allowed them to dissolve. An insubstantial pageant faded. He felt suddenly frightened, ill, and old, and tired. In that anxiety, he buried again and again all that he knew, buried at certain fathoms in the earth and deeper than did ever plummet sound. Depressed, he drowned his book, and to that session of silent and perambulatory thought he did summon up a remembrance of things past, and with old woes did newly wail his own time's waste. And yet your monument shall be my gentle verse, which eyes not yet created shall o'erread, and tongues to be your being shall rehearse when all the breathers of this world are dead. Immortality! Yet on the streets of Stratford that night his soft wet boots hardly woke the sleeping town. Behind him on the path a breeze had sprung up from off the Cotswolds, bringing with it rain and traces of snow, putting paid finally to the moon, so no one saw a wise swan shift into the darkening reeds. At home he pondered on whether to light a fire, went to bed damp, wrapped in liniment. A day later he died. A short local ceremony marked his passing, and from Gerard Johnson's workshop, a few months later, a little Latin, Judicio Pilium Genio Socratem Arti Moronem Terra Tegit Populus Maeret Olympus Habet. Stratford had done with him. The world waited. In years to come, a lifetime more, there in that small town, a bell did ring, and cannon roar, and actors in fantastic garb, with hautbois, flutes, and clarinets, guitars did sound and play, let beauty with the sun arise. Shakespeare, tribute pay. The Latin may be translated as a Nestor in judgment, a Socrates in genius, a Virgil in art. The earth covers him up, the people mourn him, Olympus has him. And the final section refers to the David Garrick-inspired Jubilee celebrations of 1769. So you have heard my poem, my storytelling. Looking at the dates, the vicar of Stratford, John Ward, would have known Shakespeare's daughter Susanna when she was in later age in the then small town of Stratford. They would have shared family knowledge, and if anybody was well placed to say how her father died, it was surely Susanna. She was married to a doctor. The family doctor. Ward would have been privy to all this, and so the diary entry really does have the ring of truth. Local legend, the bell at Welford. For me to write this poem, I had to choose to enter into an acceptance and belief and begin from there. It's interesting that the website of the Bell Inn in Welford does mention a long walk home. Thank you.